This week's reading follows Paul's second missionary journey. Acts 16 states, Paul and Silas first went to Derbe, then to Lystra, where they picked up young Timothy because he was thought well of by the believers in the nearby communities. From there, they traveled through the area of Phrygia and Galatia because the Holy Spirit had prevented them from preaching the word in the province of Asia. They tried to go to the province of Bithynia, but again, the Spirit of Jesus did not allow them to go there. So instead, they went on through Mysia to the seaport of Troas. That night, Paul had a dream about a Macedonian man urging Paul to bring the gospel of Jesus to their region. Now, what about you? Are you sensing God calling you to participate in a particular ministry? Now, how will you respond? So Paul and Silas sailed to Neapolis, eventually landing up in Philippi. The story says Paul meets a slave girl who has a spirit for fortune-telling and made a lot of money for her owner. She kept yelling, "These men are servants of the Most High God, and they have come to tell you how to be saved." Paul, being annoyed, casts out the demon spirit, which lands them up in jail. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were all listening. Suddenly there was a massive earthquake, and the prison was shaken to its foundations. All the doors immediately flew open, and the chains of every prisoner fell off. The jailer woke up to see the prison doors wide open. He assumed the prisoners had escaped, so he drew his sword to kill himself. But Paul shouted to him, "Stop! Don't kill yourself. We are all here." That night, the jailer and all his family were saved. They were immediately baptized. In Thessalonica, Paul explained the prophecies and proved that the Messiah must suffer and rise from the dead. But his teaching ended up in a mob forming, started by some of the Jews. The result was an attack on Jason's house, who was housing Paul and Silas. They were brought to council, but eventually released, finding no fault in what they were teaching. Paul then moved on to Athens, where he had an opportunity to present a monologue to Areopagus concerning all of their idols and how God is the creator of all things. Now, arriving in Corinth, Paul spent considerable time trying to convince the Jews through preaching and teaching, doing everything he could to persuade them that Jesus was in fact God's Messiah. But no such luck. All they did was argue contentiously and contradict him at every turn. Even with this disappointment, there were still a great number of Corinthians who believed and were baptized. Now, the reading today shows that doing God's work is not always easy and can come with many obstacles. But we have the Holy Spirit to give us the strength to carry on with the task He has called us to do.